guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I got this eye look using the new Melt Cosmetics 420 palette. My mom got me this as a present for like Easter. That's kind of what it was for. It was just late because it didn't release. But she did gift me this palette and I'm going to show you the look and kind of wrap up my first impressions thoughts on this. So if you want to see the tutorial and hear some thoughts, then just keep on watching. Alright guys, so we are going to jump right into the first impressions of the new Melt Cosmetics 420 palette. This is the outer box. This palette does retail for $58. It is available on Melt's website and you can also now get it at Sephora. I believe it just became available at Sephora on May 17th, so by the time you're seeing this video, it will be available. So this was their like 420 release, obviously. The brand is very much into 420. So the Smoke Sessions palette is actually like one of my favorite palettes ever. I really love this palette. Somehow my mirror broke. I actually didn't even realize that until I was showing this in a video, and when I was watching the footage back, I was like, oh wow, the mirror is broken. So I have no idea how that happened. But this palette is just gorgeous. I really use this as like a complement palette. I don't really use it on its own, but I think I may, depending on the look I do, use it with this new 420 palette. So this is the packaging. It's actually like one of those, I don't know how you call this, it's like it moves. So it's pretty cool. And then you open it up and it does have a really nice big mirror. The mirror looks pretty clear. It says 420 at the top, and then these are the colors. So these are like the greens and browns, and I think it's just a really pretty palette. I'm hoping that it's the same formula as like the Gemini palette or the Rust palette, because those are both very good. So the only thing I'll say about this is that there's not really a shade to like set down your concealer or your eye primer. So I did bring out my Tarlet & Bloom, and I'm going to just go ahead and set down the concealer on my lids, since, you know, I already concealed with my Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion concealer. So I'm just going to take the shade Flower Child. It's just like a skin tone color for me personally. So I'm just going to set down my lids. I always do this with any look, so this is why even with the first impressions I'm doing it this way. I want to do it the same way I always do it, just because that makes the most sense to me, since that is how I do my makeup. Now of course it's up to you. You don't have to prime your lids, you can use your eye primer, so many things you could do. So I'm debating on what kind of look I want to do. It's like part of me wants to stick with like the browns and the yellow over here, but then the greens also speak to me. So most of this palette is actually matte, except for that shade that I just swatched, which is Shatter. Now I want to show you a comparison to a shade from the Smoke Sessions. I'll do Gravity OG since it's like a similar color. I just want you to see the difference in the, like, almost like the pigment, not the pigmentation, but it's just, I think it is just a different type of shade. Like this is more of like a subtle, has like glitters, and then this is more like a metallic. So the shades are just a little bit different as far as like formulation in the shimmer. So the rest of this whole palette is matte though. So I definitely think I will end up dipping into this. I kind of want to do a brown, like I want to use the browns, maybe even a little bit of the green, and then use one of these to do for the lid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I think what I'm gonna do is just do one eye on camera and then do the other off, just to save time, since obviously I'm gonna do the same thing on both sides. So first what I want to do is I think I'll go ahead and put the shade Hash in the crease. There's not really a ton of like light shades in this palette, so this is another palette that could almost maybe be a complementary palette to something else. So maybe even the Gemini, like this Smoke Sessions and Gemini could maybe go together. But I'm going to go ahead and dip in. There is some kick up. And I'm going to go ahead and just start putting this into the crease. So far it seems to be blending fine. I really want to build it up on the inner part of the crease as well. So I feel like that is just blending super easy. I mean, and as you can see, it's definitely like a little bit of a deeper shade, but I don't see any patchiness, and that was really, really simple to blend. I mean, to me that looks really good. So now what I'll do is, I almost want to like, I think I'll go in with the shade Blunt right here, this one. It's like a little bit, so this is what I went in with first. I'm gonna deepen it up with this. And just see, this is gonna be like almost like a very standard look for me, honestly. Browns and golds, those are like my typical go-to looks. So we're gonna kind of stick with that just because, I don't know, the browns are really speaking to me in this palette. So I'm just dipping into Blunt. Again, there is kick up, decent amount of it, honestly. So keep that in mind if you're somebody who can't stand kick up. There's definitely kick up in these shadows so far. So I'm just first going like putting it in the outer V lightly, and then I'm going to drag it into the crease. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up some more of that shade, tapping off the excess. Again, just doing the same thing. So here's where we're at so far. I added just a little bit more depth, I think, compared to the first shade we used. Now what I want to do is, I think I want to go ahead and jump into one of these shades and do my lid shade, and then kind of build up and deepen up the outer corner. So I think what I want to do is, honestly, Granddaddy, that's my favorite shade from this palette. So I'm debating what I want to do here. I think I'm going to go in with Granddaddy just because I love that one and I think it will look good with this look. I'm just going to take a shader brush and dip into it. Alright, so we got that on the lid. Now I definitely want to go ahead and deepen up the outer corner. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go in with Roll It. And we're going to just kind of start building up the outer V and into the crease. Again, kick up in this shade. So first I start by tapping on the outer V. And I kind of go in like a diagonal motion because I want to create like almost like a V shape. This is blending really nicely already. So once I get the bulk of it onto the outer part, then I kind of blend it into the crease a little bit. I'm going to dip in again. Tap. I'm going to go in with that first brush I used with like no additional product and just kind of blend out this edge. I really didn't mean to drag it out that far, but here we are. So I'm just blending. Alright, so here is what we're looking like so far. Again, keep in mind that I know it looks like it's probably patchy right here, but it's not. It's for some reason just the way it looks on camera. This happens to me with every single look I do, because in person it looks fine. There's like nothing missing there. So I really don't know why that is. So now I'm going to work on the lower lash line. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how deep this is. I don't want to go too intense because I think I am going to be doing a winged liner. I have a new product to test, but you will be seeing that in a different video, so stay tuned. So now I'm going to go ahead and take that first hash shade that I used in the crease, and I'm just going to really buff this out on the lower lash line, connecting it to the top. And then I'm going to just go in with Blunt. I always usually just repeat the same matte shades from the lid onto the lower lash line. So that is what I'm doing. And then I'm going to take a flat brush and take that shade Roll It and push this really closely to the actual lash line. focusing most of the pigment in the outer portion and then dragging it a little bit inward. All right, and then I will take another like fluffy brush. It's like a pointed one. It's the M507. It's like my favorite lower lash line brush, and I'm no product, and I'm just blending out the edges. Alright, so here's one eye pretty much done. That was a very simple look, I felt. So, and what I'm gonna do is, there's really not a good highlighting shade in this palette. So what I'm gonna do is just take my Jaclyn Hill Accent Light palette, and I will go ahead and do the brow bone in the inner corner. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the shade Gleam. That's like the lightest one, or yeah, it is. I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna do my brow bone and inner corner with that shade. This highlighter is definitely like, this palette is like my favorite highlighting product that I own. Honestly, I could just own this and be totally good. And it's very versatile because you can use it on the eyes, so I like it. So here's the eye pretty much finished, just no eyeliner mascara obviously. So now I'm going to jump off camera, finish the other eye, and then I will come back on. Alright guys, so I am back. I finished up my liner, mascara, I put on some lipstick. I am wearing the Artist Couture Boy Toy lipstick. This is like my favorite lipstick at the moment. Anytime I'm wearing lipstick now, it's pretty much always this one. It's so comfortable and so pretty and nude, but this is the finished eye makeup. So to kind of wrap up my first impression thoughts of this 420 palette. So it does retail for $58. You are getting 10 shades in here, which is not bad. Now, I will say that for me personally, this is not really a complete palette on its own. Now, yes, you can get a complete look out of this if you want to, for sure. That's not a doubt about that. But for me, I need to supplement elsewhere. Like, as you saw, I used a shade from the Smoke Sessions, and to set my concealer down, I used a like bone shade from another palette. Now, it doesn't have to be this one, but any palette that has a nude shade, that is what I would use. So technically, I couldn't just really take this and go on my way. And same with highlighting. I had to use a different palette for that. So to me, this is a complementary palette. Now this, Smoke Sessions, and Gemini would probably all go really well together. Now for some people, they don't want to have to use other palettes to kind of make this one work, and I understand that. I am somebody who has way too many palettes for one human, but you know, since I do have other palettes, it doesn't really bother me so much. Now, will I be reaching for this all the time? I don't think so, just because it's not a complete palette. And a lot of times when I'm getting ready in the morning, I don't have time to be like sifting through a bunch of palettes. Now, if I'm going out or doing something like that, then I probably would maybe have more time and take my time to use this. Now, the shades I used 1, 2, 3 shades from this palette. I know that's not a lot when there's 10, and I'm sorry about that, but the 3 shades that I used from this, they all blended really well. I mean, there's no patchiness. I think the look turned out really beautiful, and it was super, super quick to create. I mean, when I did the eye off camera, I literally was done in like 5 minutes. Like, it took me no time at all. And I just love these earthy tones. I think they're beautiful, and I love the greens, and I would love to play around with the yellows. I definitely intend on using this palette on my channel again, of course, and testing it out more. But from my first impressions, I do not think this is a standalone palette for most people. Now, if you are more creative than I, and you know, like I said, you can create a look with this. However, for like highlighting and stuff in the traditional sense of like not using a colorful highlighting shade, then no, you're gonna have to use your highlighter or something else, which for me personally, it doesn't really bother me to have to do that because I'm already highlighting my face. So it's like I already have this product within hand's reach, any highlighter or whatever. So that is not like a deal breaker for me. One thing that does kind of bug me is that this does not have a setting shade for like my lid, for my skin tone. But again, like let's say I didn't want to pull out this palette, I could just use my face powder when I'm setting everything down and do that. So there are options with this. You can get a full look out of this. But in my personal opinion, for me and the way I do my makeup, this is not really a full complete thing on its own. And there is only one like shimmer shade. It's not as intense as the shades in here. It's a different formula, I think. I think they are a different type of shadow. I could be wrong about that, but the way they feel and the way they look from the swatches, I think they are slightly different formulas. So, you know, you're working with 9 matte shades, and for me, I don't think I've ever done a completely matte look on myself. Now, there's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, you know, in my makeup taste and how I do my makeup, I usually always put a shimmery shade on the lids. But again, there is one in here, so it's not like you have to go to a different palette. But I just really think like this and the Gemini palette, these 3 would go together wonderfully. So maybe I'll do another video using this with like the Gemini palette and kind of pairing it to see. Now, I know sometimes people don't like when you reach for other palettes when they're doing a makeup look. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I get annoyed by that. But like I said, I just felt like this look came together by using the green Granddaddy shade on the lid, which is this one. So, I don't know. Like I said, you know, you kind of have to take your makeup habits into consideration when considering this palette. So far, upon first use of those 3 shades, they blended perfectly. So the formula is definitely there with this palette compared to like that Millennial Pinks. I'm never gonna get over that. That palette was terrible. But this is a good formula, so I think if you are the type of person that's into these tones and, you know, you like this and you think, you know, you don't really mind that it doesn't have a lot of shimmer or it doesn't have the setting shade, then this is definitely an okay palette. Like I said, I was attracted to this palette even though I could see from the pictures that it didn't have certain things that I usually look for in a palette. Let me go ahead and grab my Gemini really quick just to show you them, because I know a lot of people were saying that the 2 are very similar. So let me go grab that really quick and I'll be right back. Alright, so I grabbed my Gemini palette and let me show you these like side by side. Now, the Gemini has a lot of browns and greens. I will say that the 420 already off the bat definitely has more like yellowy tones. Browns and like more browns and yellows. Let me try to hold these up here. So Gemini is on the bottom and 420 is on the top. As you can see, the greens in the 420 palette are a little bit more like vibrant, whereas these are more like mossy in my opinion. And you know, there is some browns in both. There's like a yellow tone in here. There are definitely differences between these 2 palettes, so I don't feel like I have any repeats from owning both of these. Honestly, they're very different. But I feel like they could really go nicely together because you could use like these lighter greens in conjunction with the darker greens. You can use some of these browns and yellows with these from the Gemini. I think these go together really nicely, and along with the smoke sessions. So, I know that was a lot of rambling, but basically my opinion of this is just look at your personal makeup habits and how you usually do your makeup. Look at your collection, see like, do you have things that compare with it? You know, you don't necessarily have to have another melt palette. You can have other palettes that might pair well with this, you know. So that is my opinion on it from my first impression. I'm pretty happy with it so far. I will definitely do more looks with it, you know, and play around with it more. But for the first impressions, I'm happy. I think this look is really pretty. So you'll have to let me know what you guys think in the comments. How do you feel about this palette? You know, did you pick it up? Are you interested in it? Let me know in the comments because I would love to know your thoughts. I felt like when I was reading the comments on Trend Mood, when this first got announced, there was a lot of like, it seemed like it was pretty much 50-50. Either people were really feeling it or some people thought it was too similar to Gemini. So let me know in the comments what you think of it, and we can chat about this palette down there. And I'm just going to pretty much shut up with my rambling. I think I pretty much covered my point. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe before you go so you don't miss any future videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!